Hi, everybody. Today we are learning about model making and creating what I call tower stock, which is balsa wood, almost ladders that are made. You take three or four of these, you glue them together into a rectangle or a square, I should say, and you can have a beautiful tower for your models. So let me show you how we go about making these. You can see this is a finished piece of tower stock right here. Let's take that, put that to the side for now. So the first thing you see is on AutoCAD, we've drawn out the pattern and printed it to scale. And you can see right here, I have the beginnings of lattice, or I should say tower stock, already going here. Now, this piece of paper is glued down to foam core, and you can see I could take my pins and I can stick my pins in, and that'll go right into the foam core. I'm going to go ahead and, for now, move the camera closer so you could really see what's going on here. So let me take the camera and adjust that for you. Something like that. Okay. So once again, we've got this printed out, glued down to the foam core here. Now, I also have the pattern on a separate sheet of paper, and that's going to help me figure out what angle to cut my balsa wood at. So what I'm going to do is add pieces to this tower right here. Now you can see I have two long pieces already cut. They're already pinned in. Tilt that so you can see the pins. I'm going to take that and I'm going to put that over to the side here. And I'm going to get some pieces of balsa wood stock right there. And here is my pattern. Again, this is just on the loose paper. And we do this because this might get shredded up, or this is just more movable, more mobile. As a matter of fact, if I want to, take my knife here, I could even cut that shorter and get rid of the extra paper just to make this a little bit more movable. Now I'm working in a very tiny space right now because that's where I could set up the camera, which is attached to the computer. You guys will have a more spread out area to work in. All right, so let's talk about what it takes to make this happen. I'm going to cut some straight pieces and some angled pieces here. All right, let me see if I can get the camera even closer. You can really see what's happening. All right, so why don't we start out with, let's start out with a straight piece here. And so what the idea of this is, we're lining it up right here on the pattern. And you could see that I have a line right here that shows me where to cut it. So I like to cut it a little bit smaller. And again, I have my X-Acto knife here. I've made my mark. Now I can continue to cut that right on the paper if I want to. Just keep in mind that eventually you'll be shredding up the paper, and you'll have to replace this. Another way to go about doing it would be to just line it up, make a mark. You can move the paper out of the way, and you can cut. Also, please notice that I'm on a self-healing mat right now, so I'm not damaging the table. I have my plastic mat. All right, so look at this. We have two pieces cut already. Let's go ahead and cut a few angled pieces here. Here's how I like to cut the angled pieces. I've got it lined up. I've got it more than I need. This will be scrap on the end. And then what I like to do is I like to line it up with the line like this, and then I go a little bit under like that. I'll make my mark this way, and it looks like you can see the mark there. Then I'll make my mark this way, and now I'll go to this end and I'll make my two marks. Again, I like to go slightly under. Notice I'm keeping my fingers out of the way of the blade. So there's a mark there, and there's a mark there. Now I can move the paper out of the way, follow through with the blade. See how I rock the blade back and forth so I can get a nice clean cut? Get that, that's scrap. Let's get this piece out. There we go, scrap. And now I'll cut this piece right here. Again, I like to rock the blade back and forth. And now I'll turn it this way. And I'll cut that piece out. So now, look at the way you've got these little pointed angles on here. That's what's going to make it fit perfectly in here. So I'll take that, put that to the side, and I'll make one more with you guys. Now this time, I've already got a mark started right here from the last time, so I'll just leave that. And then, actually, let's do it the right way. We'll get a little extra. I'll make my mark this way, and then I'm going to make my mark this way. And now I'll come over here, and I'll make my two marks here, like that. Now for this, I'll move the paper out of the way, make my two cuts where the marks are. There's one right there, and there is one right there. And let's get rid of this one. Cut it that way, rotate it around. Let's cut this piece off. We're making points. All right, so now let's get this pattern out of the way. And let's get the scrap out of the way. So here are the pieces I've cut, two straight pieces and two pointed or angled pieces. Put that to the side. Now let's bring back what I call the build plate right here. And remember, we've got the full build plate. We're going to build all the way down here. But for now, let's go ahead and put these in place. So I have my container of pins right here. And what I do, there's a number of ways to do this, is let's grab a straight piece first. I like to use the pin. I'll use the pin as a holder for the piece of wood, and I'll put it right in like this, get it lined up with the pattern, and then I'll push the pin through the rest of the way, like that. Now, if your fingers are too tender and they can't handle pushing the pin in, what you can do is start it out a little bit like that. Get yourself a second X-Acto knife handle, and you can use the end. Again, no blade. See how there's no blade there? And then you could take it and use that to push it in. All right. So let's continue working our way down. Now I need to put an angled piece in, so I'm going to go ahead and take that cut angled piece out. Put that in just like that. Maybe shift it. By the way, notice that I'm using two pins because then it won't pivot. Using two pins. I like to put the pins directly in. You can put them on the sides too if you want to. That's your choice. And now let's just work our way down. Again, we got to get it all lined up. Push that in. Let's get this one in like that. And now let's do another one. We'll put this one in like that. Now notice I'm just putting this one in without any pins. I just did it with my fingers. That's just another way to go. Some people like to use tweezers. If you have them, go ahead and use them. Okay, so these three pieces that I cut, actually these four pieces are here, but now we would go all the way down to finish this, and then we would go ahead and glue. So let me show you about gluing. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just getting some glue. So I had to kind of get across the room here. Now, You want to make sure whatever you do, you're using a wood glue because that will work a lot better. And the first thing is you'll find that most of these are clogged. So what I like to do is, or what you have to do, I should say, is I unscrew this so that you have the cap open. And then I'll get myself a piece of scrap paper or scrap foam core or whatever, like this. And then I'll pour a little teeny bit, like the size of a dime, basically. That's all you need, a little bit. Please make sure you recap the glue so that the next person that uses this is not going to be at a disadvantage. And that could be you. You could be the next person. So you have to hope that someone else cleans up after themselves. All right, so here's the glue. Now, here's how I glue. I'll take a toothpick, get a little bit, just a dot, not a lot. And we're going to go ahead and fill in that gap, just like that. And we're continuing all the way around, and we're just basically pushing a little bit of glue over the top of wherever these things need to be joined together. Think of yourself as a welder, just kind of welding these pieces together, little tacks of glue. And if you use too much glue, the glue will drip down to the paper, and this piece of tower stock will be stuck to the paper. Now, you have a chance of saving it. We might be able to scrape the piece off, but most of the time, unfortunately, what happens is you'll shred up the tower stock and you have to start over again. So notice how I'm just using a little bit, just enough to get in between the gap and cover the top. Now, again, as mentioned before, the idea is that you're working with the whole piece. When you're done, it's going to look something like this. See if I can get the whole thing in for you here. There we go. When you're done, it'll look like this. You're going to pull all of the pins out. When you pull the pins out, you have to make sure that you have your finger right next to where the pin is, and you pull that out. And when it's done, this should all be dry, and you'll be able to stand it up just like this. And for me, I like to make four-sided towers, so you'll be making 4 of these per tower, obviously. Now, the idea is that you would be letting this would be drying as you're building and gluing this one, and then you would do your next one, and then you would do your next one. So by the time you finish, this will be dry. You move it up and you start another one here, and you just keep going with it. And that's the modeling portion of how to make towers, guys. Enjoy. Give it a try.